Well, for weeks now, Karnataka has lurched from one communal row to the next, from a hijab ban in colleges to calls to boycott Muslim businesses. Things have been so bad that business leaders like Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw spoke up about how a growing religious divide will hurt India's tech sector. She ended up being trolled by the BJP's IT cell. But even now, former BJP Chief Minister Yadurappa has called for an end to communal tensions in the state, saying let Muslims live peacefully. Well, joining us now is one of Karnataka's most well-known citizens and voices, historian and author, Ramachandra Guha. Mr. Guha, thank you so much for being with us today. What's happening in Karnataka according to you? I mean, of course, we've seen coastal Karnataka has had communal tensions in the past as well. But why has it reached this pitch at the moment?
Well, it's obviously hard to say why it has done so, but it's clear that it's spreading rapidly, these are not fringe elements, that senior ministers of the BJP, senior office bearers at the central level, such as Mr. C.T. Ravi, the General Secretary of the party, have been issuing what can only be called intimidatory statements against the minorities. Mr. Yadurappa has spoken out. We are glad for that. I wish other ministers would speak out. I wish ordinary Hindus would recognize where this is going to take us. You know, majoritarianism is the first act falls on the minority, but ultimately the whole country suffers. And I think, and this is very systematic, Nidhi. So it is first the hijab, then it is selling, Muslims selling near a temple, then it is certain kind of meat, halal meat, then it is the azan, then it can be something else. So this is a systematic targeting and humiliation of minorities, perhaps with a larger agenda, a larger electoral agenda. But whatever it is abominable and disgraceful and deeply wounding to every citizen of the state. As I said, the minorities will feel it first, but it will come back to bite all of us.
Let me ask you though, just, as a political watcher as well, there have been reports that have appeared in the national media here that the central BJP has told Chief Minister Bommai that it shouldn't just be about your hindutva agenda. You need to focus on development issues and the government's achievements as well. And then you have the former Chief Minister, Mr. Yadurappa, saying what he did. How do you read that politically? Is there a limit to which hindutva and hardline hindutva can pay off?
I don't go by targeted leaks to favored journalists. I see by what I hear and what I don't hear. I hear the silence of Narendra Modi. I see the communal rhetoric of Adityanath and Shah, our Home Minister, very recently in the UP elections. I know the record of Mr. Shah. I know how he seeks to polarize and consolidate a Hindu vote bank so as to win majorities in state and national elections at whatever cost to the social fabric. So I will trust what I can see and what I hear, not some random report in a Delhi newspaper saying the central leadership is upset with Mr. Bommai. C.T. Ravi is part of the central leadership. Look at the kinds of things he said. Now, and it's been obviously tacitly encouraged by the Home Minister and possibly even by the Prime Minister. So I have no doubt that the top leadership of the BJP is complicit in it. And when I say top leadership, I mean the Prime Minister and the Home Minister.
So can I ask you, when you said that Hindus also need to speak up, all communities need to speak up about what's happening. Let's look at business leaders. Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw did speak up recently, and she said that this kind of growing religious divide is going to hurt India's tech sector. She ended up getting really badly trolled for it by the BJP's IT cell. Is there a price to pay for speaking up, firstly?
Again, so I'll come to that, but let's look at the IT cell. How could Amit Malviya have written what he did about Kiran Mazumdar had he not thought Amit Shah would support him? He reports directly to Amit Shah. So let's not be no illusion about this. It's Amit Shah who has emboldened all these hate mongers within the party holding top positions, which includes General Secretary of the BJP and head of the IT cell. Having said that, I think more people should speak up. I think there should be a collective statement by the industrialists. The intellectuals have signed, the best-known Kannada intellectuals have given a petition to Mr. Bommai. I think it's important that they get together collectively as a group. Because and Twitter is not really the right forum to conduct these kinds of things. It should be a dignified, well-worded statement about what this means for our society, our country, our economy, and our future. But, that Amit Shah could go so directly first at Rahul Bajaj, who's was a great hero of modern India, who has done all that Amit Shah has given his jobs to trolls who harass people like you and me. Rahul Bajaj and Kiran Mazumdar have built very large, profitable industries that give employment to thousands of people, as well as spin-off employment to tens of thousands of people. And that Amit Walia could say what he did first to Rahul Bajaj and then to Kiran Mazumdar is only possible if his boss, his namesake Amit Shah, explicitly or tacitly endorses it. So this divisiveness and hate is coming absolutely from the top. Let's have no illusions about that.
So let me ask you this though, that while it is commendable when business leaders rarely speak up, and Kiran Shaw and Rahul Bajaj are among those who do, we are living in times where we are saying that this kind of communal divide is not okay because it hurts business. We should be saying that it's not okay, period. It's bad for us as a society.
Absolutely.
Why is it so difficult, you think, for people to come out and say that? You're calling for collective voices to say that, but they're not.
I said, writers, activists, lawyers are speaking out. I think, you see, this is, the recent column I wrote in the Telegraph last week pointed out that this is how it started in Sri Lanka. This is how it started in Pakistan. This is how it has proceeded in Myanmar. That the majority community is immune. It's always somebody else's fault. We have become, as I argued in the article, we Hindus have become a majority with a minority complex. We dominate everything. We dominate the polity, the economy, social life, law and order. We control the administration. We even have a favorable judiciary. And yet we feel persecuted by a few Muslims. Now, this is exactly how, the slide began in Sri Lanka and Myanmar. So it's important for all of us to understand. And I completely agree. It can't be merely an instrumental argument that is bad for business. It's bad for society, it's bad for morality, it's bad for interfaith harmony, it's bad for the social fabric, it's immoral and unfair and unjust, period. Now, having said that, if some people want to see it instrumentally to begin with, that's at least an improvement from staying completely silent. And hence, as I said, rather than Kiran Mazumdar or somebody else tweeting alone, a joint statement by CII or the Karnataka chapter of CII or half a dozen of my city's prominent industrialists who privately abhor it. Privately, they are appalled by what is happening, but somehow they can't gather the courage because partly, of course, they know how vindictive this regime is and guys like Amit Malviya will come after you. If Amit Malviya, if a super troll like Amit Walia has the mandate and the freedom and the license to call Rahul Bajaj and Kiran Mazumdar names, you know where this is coming from. It's coming absolutely from the top. So only a really concerted pushback by all sections of society can even begin to stop.
So let me tell you that today we've had government sources telling journalists that there are Pakistani handles and Turkish Twitter handles that are sort of playing up these hashtags about Muslims being persecuted in India. And I have no doubt that there will be countries who will seek to fish in troubled waters, because it suits them. But you do also hear the day-to-day anecdotes. We had these lovely pictures which we're going to play out later of Muslims giving water to those, who are taking part in Ram Navami processions, or Muslims who are looking after temples in, say, the Kashmir Valley, etc. So how much of this is driven by, to those who say it's driven by a vocal minority, this persecution of Muslims, quote unquote, what would you say to them?
No, it's not. It is the professed ideology of the ruling party. I have argued in the past systematically based on a deep study of the RSS that the ideology of the RSS can be summed up in 6 words, and these 6 words are: we shall show Muslims their place. And this ideology has become even more naked and visible in the regime of Modi and Shah. It may have been relatively without influence, though not absent, in the regime of Vajpayee. I mean, Yediyurappa may be the last throwback to the Vajpayee regime, which is why he said what he did. But it is part of their core belief. that Muslims must be made second-class citizens, they must be humiliated, they must be stigmatized, the full force of the administration and the law must be brought to bear on them. This is part of their core ideology.
So where is the opposition? Ram Guha, where is the political opposition? Is the political opposition in a space today where it's too scared to say that it's standing up for the rights of minorities?
Of course, which is why civil society is speaking up. They must more. And the political opposition must, this whole seduction of the Hindu vote bank. We want to share the Hindu vote bank. I think in some ways, if you look at the last 3 or 4 years, the most effective campaign against the BJP probably was fought in Bihar, where the argument was about jobs. It wasn't, it was about what can you give us? Where are your achhe din? Now, and of course, you're absolutely right. The opposition is culpable in facilitating this. The history of authoritarian regimes tells us they need supine, weak, self-serving, nepotistic oppositions to, enable their rise. The Congress party under the Gandhis are also certainly the facilitators of the consolidation of Hindutva. But more broadly than politics, it's a question of what is the future of our society? What do we Indians want to be? Do we want to go the route of Pakistan, Myanmar and Sri Lanka, where majoritarianism, the harassment and intimidation of minorities destroyed that country's prospects to build a caring and a safe and secure future for themselves? So I think clearly the political opposition is culpable, but so is everyone else.
Right. Well, important, blunt speak there from you, Ram Guha, as always. Thank you very much for joining us on NDTV. Thank you.